Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. As I record this intro, it is 5:50 a.m. I was planning on finishing an epic blog post on B2B sales, what it takes to get in front of decision makers. But you know what? My internet provider decided to have an outage just as I was typing. You gotta love it. So, hey, I never have a lack of work. So, hey, shift on over, edit this episode, get this cleaned up and ready for you. Do you have a backup? And a backup is different than a plan B. There's a lot to be said for burning the ships and committing to your course. But Dan Kennedy talks about it. It's when I first really sunk in. He talked about how one is the loneliest number. Meaning, do you have just one source of income? Just one source of leads? Do you have just one computer, right? I mean, I have two computers. I've got a desktop, a big iMac. I have a MacBook Pro. I also have an iPad Pro. So, worst case, and then my iPhone, right? So I could get on a call. I could get on a Skype call. I could get on a Zoom call. I can, use any of those devices to get onto social media, to send an email. And, with the internet being down, just turn Wi-Fi off, and I use my iPhone. I actually shot a tweet out to Frontier Communications, who bought out Verizon, and asked if there's an outage. And they were pretty cool. I mean, I think within a minute they replied and confirmed there's an outage in my area. So, okay, I can stop rebooting my router. So I rebooted the computer, rebooted the router twice. I'm like, okay, it's not me, it's you. So, do you have a backup? And do you have a backup to your backup? There should be no reason for you to sit still. You need ways to bring in business. You need ways to get the word out. You need ways to grow your sales. And you're always experimenting. And I see people, Harvey McKay wrote that book, How to Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. And I read in there, he talked about, dig your well before you're thirsty. So are you doing the things you need to do ahead of time? And as entrepreneurs, we struggle with one of two things. Either we get bored with something, let's say it's Facebook ads, and you get bored with it, so you stop doing it before it stops working, or we get something and it's working and then it's all we do, and then we don't experiment. I'm always telling my clients, the goal is to beat your best performing ad or your best performing promotion. So what are you doing to test and verify, right? You split test the ad, you see which one is working, you go with the obvious winner, but then you iterate from there. And in marketing in particular, running ads, you can't make the mistake of, having one big ad, big call to action. Maybe it's a long form sales letter with a video, big bold red headline, big blue, call to action, buy now buttons. And then you run a totally different ad with maybe just a video, no sales copy, or you make too big of a change. Then you don't really know what it was that made the difference. Was it the removal of the letter? Was it changing of the video? Was it the changing of the headline? So when you split test, you go very wide. So you make a lot of different things. Maybe one is blue, one is red, one is green. Maybe one has a video, one doesn't. And then you see when you have a clear winner, then you start to iterate from there, small changes. I mean, when I say small, I mean small. Like you change the color of the headline, you change the color of the buy now buttons, you change it from buy now to get started, you change get started to let me in. Okay, then maybe you change it from a buy now to a get a free report and begin the process. So you don't even ask for money up front. So all those little changes, once you know which ad is working. So. And you'll always hear me talk about this. There's always two sides to the coin. There's always pros and cons. That's life in the big city. All right. Welcome aboard. So, I mentioned the last episode, I've got a couple things. One is new, one I haven't mentioned in a while, but I've got that free report, thebestsalessecrets.com. It's 21 pages covering the lessons I've learned over 21 years in sales. Get that now. It's totally free, thebestsalessecrets.com. And then I've changed up my own iteration, right? I've got a 90-day private coaching and support program. I've had that in place for a while, but I only bring on a few people in that because it's one-on-one. It doesn't scale. But people are asking for help. So I bought a domain not too long ago called digdeep.today. So today is actually the TLD, top level domain. So digdeep.today. You can read about it. I made some changes to another page, but you can read about it, see the testimonials, and you can get started there with what I call my IPA, my initial process assessment. Super affordable. You're going to get a questionnaire from me, and you're going to get one-on-one recorded time with me. And you can bring in team members, you can bring in a spouse, and we'll do a deep dive in your business very quickly and very impactfully. And most people, when they get the feedback and the clarity from that session, they have what they need, they know what they need to go do, and they go implement. Some decide to retain me and jump into the 90-day program. And if we decide mutually that that's right, then we'll apply that initial IPA to the first month, and then we'll get started. All right. But if you've ever wanted some one-on-one time with me, if you ever want to pick my brain, this is the program for you. So head on over there, digdeep.today. Read all about it. Get started. I look forward to helping you. Now, our guest today, Scott, is a bold, brash, young, successful entrepreneur. So this is not an episode to listen to with the kids. He has some salty language, but in business, he's created a success. So he was worth having on, kind of like Sean Whalen. Sean doesn't hold anything back. Scott is probably a young version of Sean. And he talks about his failure and his bounce back, and he's done all this at a very young age. I think he's only 25 years old. But I just wanted to give you a little warning on that. It's not the typical clean-cut interview, but I still think it's worth it. He does make some bold claims. He does back it up. And if you follow him online, I mean, the guy's a giver. He puts out a lot of information. So you're going to get a lot from this. You just have to overlook the potty mouth. So let's bring on our guest. Scott Oldford, all the way from Toronto, Ontario, helping entrepreneurs scale from 6 to 7 figures using powerful lead generation. Welcome to the Sales Podcast, man. How the heck are you?
I am doing well. It's almost warm here in Toronto, so I'm really excited for that.
Shut the front door. Is that like 55 degrees? Is that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anything above 50, you definitely, if you're in a convertible, you're gonna have the top down, especially here in Canada. But I mean, it's great though, right? Because I was saying this morning. In the winter, I just work 80 hours a week, not because, I even want to or that I need to, just because there's nothing else to do, right? It's kind of like, do you want to go out and freeze your ass off or do you want to work? And it's like, well, you know what? I'll work. And so that's my hustle strategy.
So that's how you post so much.
Exactly. Well, you know what? The reason I post so much is because I always say the reason I post so much is whenever I'm posting, I'm on the toilet. So you can correlate perfectly,
Well, dude, based on the volume that I've seen, you may want to see a doctor.
Yeah, no, that might be a fair judgment there. That might be a fair judgment.
Very nice. All right. So I do see, and that is something we can jump right into. I do see you online. You give a lot of value for free right on your personal page. So a couple questions. A, why on your personal profile versus a page? And why the heck do you give so much?
Well, I mean, I think at a personal page is pretty simple. I kind of test what marketing messages work on my personal page. Because if something works on my personal page, I know I can extrapolate, and I spend anywhere from $60,000 to $150,000 a month on paid advertising. So what I do is I have a really great kind of demographic of people that are kind of customers of mine. I have 5,000 friends plus I think 3,000 or 4,000 followers. So out of that group, I can test different marketing messages. And so if I can pattern interrupt those that see the number of messages they see on my Facebook, it means that somebody that's cold where I'm actually paying for that reach, the chances are I'm going to be able to get in front of them. So it's almost kind of like a little bit of a testing area for me where I test different messages and see what works. And when I hit something, my content person, my head of content at my company, he'll take notice, he'll take a look at it, and then be like, okay, how are we actually going to format this, formulate it, and put it into something that's going to be, put out there and actually put money behind it. So it's kind of like I almost use it as my little experimentation area. Plus, when it comes to, why do I give so much away for free? Honestly, I don't know. I don't really have a good answer for that question. All I can say is the more content I produce, the more money I make. So I just keep on putting free shit out there, and I keep on making more money. So that's honestly what came about it. And I think the secondary thing is just an overall understanding that we are in a society where if you want to be the king or queen of your kingdom, if you want to build a kingdom, it means that you have to serve your people. And it doesn't necessarily mean that your people are going to pay you just today. It might take some time for them to actually pay you, but they're still inside of your kingdom. And at least for me, this doesn't go for everybody, you enlarge your kingdom by the amount of value that you produced, regardless if it's paid or for free. And that's the way that I do business, and that's the way that I look at my business is as a kingdom. And if I want to have people that serve me, I must serve them first.
Very nice. Well, that is not a kingdom, okay? At least it's not any kingdom I read about when I was a kid. They were just beating their people, the feudal lords. Pay your taxes.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I'll say I'm a very friendly king.
You're a benevolent dictator. Is that what you're saying?
What was that, sorry?
You're a benevolent dictator.
There you go. You go. I'm real friendly. I'm real friendly, and I give lots of value.
Only nice people are allowed on the Sales Podcast. Now back to our regularly scheduled program, already in progress. All right, man. So you spend how much? 60 to 100,000?
So somewhere. It really depends. I mean, we never go below 60,000 a month on paid advertising, and I would say that. I would say on average about 100,000 on a monthly basis. If we're doing like a launch or something like this month, we had a couple launches, that type of thing. So, I'd say between May the 15th to June the 15th, we'll spend about, 150,000 or so.
And is this just for your own business, or are you managing others?
No. This is just for my This is just for my business. I don't manage anybody's ad spend. That's not part of my business. That's 100% my money. 100% my money that I spend on a daily basis. I don't know. I've probably spent $90 from the time I'm on this podcast. But you gotta realize that, we can obviously go into this any way we want. If I look just I did it actually, because in January of this year, we spent $93,000 US on advertising. I remember it because I was doing a little comparison post. And just last year, like 2016, we only spent $5,000. So we went from spending $5,000 to $93,000 in just 12 months. Now, keep in mind, this is also profitably. I'm not just going and spending money. I'm not made of money. And this is not credit or anything like that. I literally only have $10,000 of credit to my name. Which is really difficult to do, by the way, because 4 years ago I was like $750,000 in debt. The thing is, when you go $750,000 in debt, you don't go to the bank and they don't trust you for forever. So far, in my understanding, it doesn't matter how much money you got in your bank account. So anyways, you have no idea. On a daily basis, I literally spend at least 20 minutes on a daily basis just going through declined card charges on my credit card because we only have $10,000 of credit, which is anyways, it's ridiculous. Try running a company on $10,000 of credit when you're generating far more than that on a daily basis, and it is a pain in the ass. But anywho, that's my rant for today.
So how do you spend $3,000 a day when you only have $10,000 in credit?
That's basically you connect your PayPal account, and they just automatically bill it from your bank account. That's what I've had to do.
Cool.
So I just had to surpass that. It sucks because I don't get all the air miles and all the benefits, but until the day that I can fix that. But listen, it goes back to this. It's like anything. You don't start out spending $100,000 a month on ads. You start out spending $20 to $50 a day. Right. And you just build yourself from there. It's like everything. You don't go to the gym and you come back, you got a six pack. And so, a year ago, I would be frightened shitless. I mean, literally would be having a heart attack if you're you're going to be spending $100,000 on a monthly basis without batting an eye.
Right.
But business in your life exponentially increases. It's not just it's not a situation where it's like linear. It's very exponential. It happens much faster than you can ever imagine. And then you look back one day and you're like, shit, man, we're spending a lot of money on Facebook ads.
So is that where most or all of your spend is?
Really, where I'm spending my money, I'm really diversifying right now. I'm trying to get away from just Facebook ads. So we're just starting to do some Google Display. We're starting to do some YouTube. I got a YouTube show that's going to be coming out soon. So we're going to be putting some money behind that. I spend, about $10,000 a month on PR. So that's another strategy. We also have our partner program, and we spend some pretty good money on that outside of the affiliate revenue. We're looking at doing some LinkedIn fairly soon. And that's really, and then of course our organic like podcasts like this, and more of the organic approach. So to me, I'm always looking at risk mitigation, and there's three main types of traffic, right? There's partner, there's paid, and there's organic. So this is kind of like partner, you know what I mean? Like obviously, you're doing this for your community, and hopefully I can bring a couple of nuggets, or just honestly maybe a couple of laughs to those that are listening to this. So that's more like partner, and those are organic. So I write an article, I put it online, Google picks it up, and so on. And then, of course, paid, which is our, Facebook, YouTube, Google type of advertising.
Right. So that's a big ramp up quickly. Was this a new business that you got into?
Yeah.
Was it an old business? I mean, walk us through that iteration.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so, to start kind of a few years ago, so by the time I was 21 years old, I was $750,000 in debt. So yeah, I was always a business owner when I was younger, like teenage years.
So you say at 21?
Yeah, 21. Yeah, 21. So by the time I was 21, almost $750,000 in debt. Right now I'm going to be releasing publicly where I was in debt, because Business Insider wants to do some articles on me, but they need to verify. And I always get people being like, how the heck does a 21-year-old get $726,000 in debt? And at the end of the day, I understand it is a little bit of a disbelief. So I'm gonna come out and basically show where that money kind of went and why I was that much in debt, just so that going forward, everyone's like, all right, you know what? That's not just a pie in the sky. And it's really funny because for the last 4 years, I've always said that. And it literally wasn't. I mean, I've been published in Inc. and Entrepreneur and all these different places, and it's the first time I ever got asked was Business Insider, which just goes to show how much you really need to fact check things, because basically anybody can say anything nowadays, and they just publish it online, and then people think it's real.
Yeah.
But the last 4 years, so I'm 25 now, 26 maybe if you're listening to this, June 16th. And so the last couple of years, we started this business kind of helping entrepreneurs in online marketing, because I've been doing this for a long time, but I used to do it for other people. We did $500,000 in 2015 in 6 months. I started it in May of 2015, so almost 2 years now. 2 years to the almost exact day. Last year we did just above a couple million. And this year, between both my Bots for Business should do about $2 million this year. Infinitus should do somewhere between $7 to $8 million this year. So might hit 8 figures in between both. and I'm not expecting that to happen, but it's very, very possible. I mean, it's a brand new business. I've never been in the online e-learning business before. I just did online marketing since I was like a little kid. And something I realized, and something I think a lot of entrepreneurs should realize, just because you're good at something, I failed 3 times in a row. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you're a good business owner. And you can deliver something all day long. I could help people lead generation all day long, but I always sucked with operations and finance, and it wasn't until I found a really, really good number 2 that things could kind of come together, and I could actually run a business, quote unquote, successfully, because I could always build a business to like 1 million. Built multiple businesses to 1 million. This is my 5th now, and I would just screw them up. And somehow I figured, this is right now the businesses I have, the biggest I've ever built them, anything really. And I really think it's because I brought somebody in that understood finance, understood operations, because I can do sales and marketing all day long. Great at it. I'm wonderful at it. That's what I help people do every single day. But I couldn't manage the business. And, I think that's a really, really good piece. If you're looking to build a business, realize that there's a zone of genius in which you're good at, but there's other pieces that you're not good at, and you're either need to hire or partner up to kind of fill those voids sometimes.
Yeah. So how do you work with this number 2? Because that's always interesting when I see the dreamer, the shiny object chaser, right? I mean, that's me. I'm the entrepreneur. I got more ideas before noon than most people have all year, and my number 2 is like, oh my gosh, I got to write this down, right? So how do you balance like the idea generation and the execution, and who gets veto power over like, okay, no more ideas versus, okay, stop what we were doing because this is the real deal.
Can I swear on this podcast?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, that's a fucking bitch is all I can say. It's legit. I don't really enjoy being a CEO. Okay. Cause like I'm kind of like in the CEO world now. Like I kind of like, there's like an entrepreneur, business owner, CEO. There's 3 very different things. And I always find it funny that the entrepreneurs like making $150,000 a year and they calls themselves a CEO. I always have a good laugh at those.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they don't know the difference. So I can have a laugh about it, and I still respect them because I was there too one time.
Yep.
But overall, it really comes down to this. Inside of you have to the person I have as my CEO. They're not like a partner in the company or anything like that. They're paid well. They're one of my really good friends. Really his job is being able to be a fact finder. His job is being the implementer. His job is saying, hey, Scott, I know you have these ideas, but this is what we have to do this month. And if you want to do anything else, you need to look at the priorities because this is all we have capacity for, right? You have a team of 12. This is what we can do. This is what you have slated for the month after. It's like, okay, here's what we have slated for May. Here's what we have slated for June. You work on what you want slated for July and meet with me next week. But unless you want to change something, unless we need to change something for either cash flow or something came up or whatever, here's what's going to be done. And anything else you need to either do elsewhere and not talk to me about it.
Right.
Okay, which is why I went and started this Bots for Business that we will probably end up talking about in a little bit, because I saw this huge opportunity to create a couple extra $1 million this year, and I went to my COO and he's like, yeah, we don't have capacity, we don't have anything, right? Like we don't have the ability to execute this. So then I went to somebody that was a friend of mine. And I said, hey, listen, do you want to partner and go in on this? And they had a great operations background, a great management background. They just couldn't do sales and marketing.
Right.
And so we did that. We generated, it's a multi 6-figure business in its first 60 days. We should be surpassing about $500,000 in the next 30 days. We started on March the 12th or March the 15th of this year. And so basically it was like, oh yeah, hey Scott, we can't do this. If you want to do it, hey, listen, if you want to put more work on your plate, that's fine, but we can't put any more work on our plate.
Right.
Right. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they fail. This is where I used to fail because the way that I look at it is like, man, I'll do whatever it takes. But the problem is that, when you're hiring a team, you know what? They'll put in the time, they'll put in the work. But I think a lot of time entrepreneurs have unrealistic expectations of somebody that has no skin in the game from a perspective of the fact that, they might get a bonus, but their bonus of $5,000 or $10,000 for the year isn't enough for them to, work every single Saturday the entire year. Yeah. And it's not fair for us to think that either, because at the end of the day, there's entrepreneurs and there's team members, and it doesn't mean they can't be a stakeholder, and it doesn't mean that they are not bought in. It just means that their priorities in life are different than yours, and you have to respect that.
Right. Sure. So you're big in debt, still young, and then how did you? So you bring on a number two. So it seems like you had good ideas. You were just
didn't execute the damn thing.
Weren't executing. So they freed you up. Were you doing your next couple things? Were they in the same kind of line of work, or were they totally different?
Well. Now keep in mind, I didn't actually know that having a number two was my problem at the time. Yeah, that was just luck, to be completely honest with you.
Sure.
So really what happened was, it was 2013. About a year beforehand, I sold my agency because I was basically trying to avoid bankruptcy, which was a dumb idea. I should have just went bankrupt. I mean, that was just a total ego thing. If you're ever like in that bankruptcy thing, like, if you don't want to go bankrupt, that's fine. But like, don't not do it because of pride or ego. Any business owner, anybody that matters isn't going to give a shit. Okay. And I think that's a lot of the time people, for me, it was a big pride and ego thing. Cause it was like, did I really peak at 21? Right. And it's like, did I really have this amazing teenage life and make all kinds of money and be all over the media and win all these awards? And I'm 21. I'm, $726,000 in debt, living in a 450 square foot apartment, getting high every night and getting drunk on vodka on the rocks because I fucking hate my life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so anyway, that's where I ended. That's basically where, like, I won't say my life was horrible. It's better than I'll probably say 90% of the population on planet Earth. But for me, where I was this is the worst that I knew, right?
Right.
And I didn't exactly want to go back and live in my old bedroom with my parents. That wasn't really something I wanted to do. But really what I ended up realizing is that where I went wrong, I mean, I had this massive ego. I'm not going to say I don't have a big ego now because our egos protect us as entrepreneurs. But I was really cocky. I wasn't confident. It was just cockiness. I was naive. I was young at the end of the day. I'm still young, but at this time I didn't have appreciation for the fact that I was young. And it led me down a path of just totally going in a ton of debt. And then so June 2013, I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I can't work for somebody else. I basically sold out. This is about 11 or 12 months later. I just hated my life. I couldn't wake up in the mornings. I had no purpose anymore. And but of course the problem is that I had a lot of money that I had about $8,000, maybe a little bit less, but about $8,000 in expenses on a monthly basis, including my debt, right? Because I had this massive amounts of debt. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go out and I'm just going to find some new contracts. I'm just going to go out and I'm going to start a marketing agency. And I started a marketing agency, and like we did 900 and something thousand in 2014. So that brought me to 2015. And by the end of 2014, I had this marketing agency. This is the third time I had an agency. Third time that I just didn't know how the hell to run an agency. And I just hated it. We were still profitable. I was paying off debt, all these different types of things. And so then, I had kind of a little bit of a wake up call where, somebody that was finally mentoring me financially said, "Hey, Scott, listen, you're just going to keep on putting yourself back into this hole. You just don't have the right operations. You don't have the right financials, and an agency doesn't have great margins." And I was like, okay, well, that's fair. And then in 2015, I was like, okay, what the hell do I do? So at the time I had a podcast. At the time I was starting to build a little bit of an audience, like that type of thing. And then in April of in February of 2015, I moved from Newfoundland, which is a little tiny island on the eastern side of of Canada. Moved to Toronto. I had $30,000 in my bank account. I fired everyone in my agency, and I had $30,000. So I had about 3 months of money before I was going to be broke again, which, looking back was a fucking dumb idea to move to Toronto. But it turned out great. And so what ended up happening is someone asked me, "Hey, Scott, can you teach me online marketing?" Now, man, I don't know about you in your life's path, but the first time that I think almost anybody thinks about anybody that's like a professional or, you're a consultant or a coach or whatever it would be, as soon as anybody says, "Do you want to teach me something?" the first thing I thought of, those that can't teach. That was the first thing, right? And I think that's pretty normal, just simply because of the fact that that is definitely ingrained in society at some level. Secondarily, I was not a teacher. I never went to university, never went to college, sucked at school. I was like, how am I going to teach anyone anything? So originally I passed it off, and then I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. So then it's about 5 days later, and I just couldn't get it out of my mind. So I wrote a 1-page Google Doc about what I would be, and I basically sent it to 25 people on my Facebook Messenger list of people that I kind of knew that needed online marketing. And I was like, listen, this is $1,099. I'm starting it on May the 15th or May the 25th, one of those. And do you want to come in on it? 22 people said yes. So I made $22,000, almost $24,000 US, which is about $30,000 Canadian at the time in terms of the currency rate, selling basically thin air. And I was like, well, fuck, that was easy. That was really easy. And so anyways, I got to the delivery of it, and I was like, man, this is really cool. People are actually, understanding this, blah, 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 blah. So fast forward 2 years later, what was a program that I just literally delivered live has now generated over $4 million in revenue. Has launched a high-end 12K elite program that's a multi-million-dollar product of ours, and has built me an audience of over 50,000 entrepreneurs that listen to my advice very attentively. And in less than 2 years, went from literally never doing this before to, in many regards, I don't know why, but people keep on paying me, regard me as a quote-unquote authority in the online lead generation space. But more importantly, helping people go to 6 to 7 figures, largely because I've done it a lot myself. I've helped a lot of people go from 6 to 7 figures, a lot of people at the $250,000, $500,000, because it all goes back to lead generation. If you fix your cash flow problem, which has all to do with lead generation, you basically can get the money to fix your operation problem, your financial problems, and everything else. Because majority of entrepreneurs that are under $250,000 are fucking broke. $250,000, $500,000 people are just getting just enough sustainability, but they get on what I call the 6-figure hamster wheel. But if you fix a lead generation problem for entrepreneurs, after you're doing 6 figures, I mean, it is like rocket fuel, and you can get to 7 figures very quickly. Yeah, you know what? You're going to break a ton of shit. Yeah, you know what? Things are not going to be perfect. But the beautiful thing is, once you have some cash, once you have some disposable cash, there's very few things you can't fix. And so that's really what I do is I help people kind of with their lead generation. I'm not saying that I'm the best person. Don't come to me for advice on finance. Don't come to me on advice for operations or customer service or any of those different types of things. I'm okay with them. But when it comes to sales and marketing, getting someone in and knowing, basically mediating someone's attention towards you, and then being able to have your signal that then goes against your signal to them, so that you can attract them, and then further than that, turn them into a customer by coaching them to be a customer automatically. I am fucking amazing at that, and that's really what my sweet spot has been up to this point, and it's a lot of fun, man.
Dude, sounds cool. I love it that you just created the outline, said, "Hey, everybody, I'm going to launch this course." Now, what do you think would have happened if only 1 or 2 people signed up? Would you have still taught it?
Probably not. I mean, I think validation is everything. I think validation is everything. Like, just recently when we did this Bots for Business thing, I sent an email to my personal email list, my daily email list, which is only like 2,000 people, not very big. They got to put up with me almost every day sending them shit. And I was like, hey, listen, I'm thinking about doing this. We'll do a bot for you, $1,000. If we get 12 people, we'll do it. If not, we won't. And within 12 hours, I had all the slots filled.
Right.
And I was like, fuck. And I was like, well, there's obviously a need for this. So I think validation is grossly underestimated. I really, really think that everybody really needs to validate beforehand, because if I couldn't get 22 people that already knew me and everything else, well, what's the chances that a bunch of strangers are going to pay me to do the exact same thing? Probably not, right?
Right.
And so I think validation is important, and by far one of the most missteps. I see people all the time, build these elaborate. I always say you don't have a business model unless you've made a couple $100,000. Forget about the business model, the business plan, whatever. Hustle, get your first couple $100,000, whatever means needed, and then figure out what actually makes sense for a business model. Because I see people, they're all in their head, and they're all in their head space, and they're taking their 30-minute showers thinking about their extravagant business ideas and business models and how it's going to be all fucking amazing. And then they actually go to market. Life slaps them in the fucking face, and then they're like, fuck, everything I thought there wasn't. So I really think business models and business plans in the first couple 100,000 are just fucking bullshit. You're making up little fairies and unicorns in your head. You just got to go ahead and hustle and figure out what someone's going to pay for. Then you can come back and say, okay, what do I want to do and what's most profitable to me?
Yeah. Right.
So, and again, that goes against every fucking, probably everything that anybody who says in, MBAs and everything else. But that's at least what works for me, and what works for most people that I end up working with is, just got to go out and find what someone's willing to pay you for first.
Yeah, I see so many people spending so much time and money on business plans, talking with I don't know.
It's fucking disgusting, dude.
Different organizations. I won't name any names, but basically retired people that volunteer their time to help you.
Like, that should be fucking illegal. Like, I really, like, there's this group of people out there, and that the entrepreneurs, and I think they're just, I think they're just fucking addicted to, I think they just love the feeling that they're going to do some shit. You know what I mean? Like they just love feeling like they're going to do some shit. They'll be watching fucking Gary Vee on fucking binge on fucking Friday night, right? And listen, I love Gary Vee, all right? There's nothing against the Gary Vee, but it's more so along the lines of a lot of the people, of course, that watch entrepreneurial reality TV, right?
Right.
Or they'll go to every webinar, or they'll, I got people all the time. They're like, yeah, man, this is my 50th webinar of yours. And I'm like, are you fucking crazy? Like, what? You are serious. You are fucked. You are just, what is wrong with you? Go and do something for damn, anyways. Yeah. I can talk about that all day long, but, I believe we are in the, I think this is with everything. If you're an implementer, life is fucking amazing. If you're a creator, life is fucking amazing. But if you're a consumer, your life is just going to suck. And So what you have to do is, and as human beings, we are taught for the minute you step inside, kindergarten, you are taught to be a consumer, and you got to basically rewire your entire body, your mind, your energy, your heart, everything. You got to rewire everything to not only be a giver, and not only be of, constantly be of value, but you got to be a producer. And the thing is that producing, that means you got to put yourself out there on the line. You got to basically, be ready to fail. You got to say, hey, listen, these ideas, they might not be the best ideas in the world, but they're my ideas, and I'm willing to put them out there. And I think so many people just get caught up in the la land of being an entrepreneur, and at the end of the day, you're not going to create anything great if you're not a producer. You're just going to be consuming shit, and consumers don't get paid.
Yep. Amen. So, what do you say to people that are worried about a daily email, a daily post? Where am I going to get all the ideas, Scott? And if I give all this stuff, what are people going to pay me for?
That's a good question. Number one, if you're afraid of producing the content, that means that you're not learning enough, right? So my biggest thing is the 4 hours of your day. So you let's say you sleep for 8 hours. Let's say you're crazy enough to sleep for 8 hours. Okay. So you sleep for 8 hours. You have 16 hours left. So really, when you look at it, you want to spend 4 hours doing the 4 things that nobody can take from you, okay? So there's 4 things the bank can't take from you, nobody can take from you. Number 1 is your health, all right? So you should be spending 1 hour a day on your health every single day. It doesn't matter if you got a Pilates mat or you're going, the gym or whatever it may be. The second thing that you want to be spending your time on a daily basis is your, as Ty Lopez would say, your knowledge. And developing your knowledge. So whether that's reading books, whether that's going to webinars, whether that's, whatever it is, you need to be learning 1 hour a day. The third one, you need to be meeting new people. So you need at least 1 hour a day to meet new people. So that whether that's 2 30-minute phone calls with 2 people you don't know, or you're trying to get on, podcasts or whatever it may be, but you need to be meeting new people. And then the fourth is you need to be developing an audience. You need to be producing content, right? So in order to produce content, you need to have time. So you have the knowledge, and then you have the time to produce it. Now, if you spend 4 hours on that, you're left with 12 hours, right? So I think most entrepreneurs should be able to get by working on their business about 6 to 8, and then the rest of the time hanging out with family or whatever it is you enjoy, whatever it may be. But if you spend 4 hours doing those things every single day, man, your life is going to skyrocket. Your momentum is just going to skyrocket because you're constantly learning, you're constantly producing, you're constantly, really helping yourself, and you're constantly meeting new people. You're constantly networking. I hate the word networking, but let's call it connecting. You're constantly connecting. And so I guarantee you can't learn. All right, you can't learn an hour a day and not have a couple of good ideas, or be able to put a perspective on it, or be able to put a certain kind of rhythm on it. And if you do it long enough, you'll start to connect pieces. You'll be able to start to see patterns. You'll be able to start extrapolating into the future. You'll start becoming very good at understanding what this particular thing is. And at that point, now you've gone past being a content creator, and now you're gone down the road of being, really a thought provoker, somebody that makes someone kind of stop in their tracks based on what they've thought is in the past. And if you do that long enough, you'll become known for what it is that you, of course, are an expert at this point. And that's really the path, man. I mean, I'm great at what I do because I've studied human behavior and psychology and body language and NLP and all these different types of things since I was like literally 14 years old. So I can talk about online marketing all day long simply because of the fact that I've been doing it for a long time. But that doesn't mean that if you haven't been doing it for a long time, you need to be some so-called expert or authority. Simply just start producing content, because there's someone out there, like for me. I can't connect the dots for someone that's at zero anymore, because I can't remember what it's like to be at zero anymore. So like mostly my audience is 100K, $500,000, $1 million folks, because it's like one step or maybe 2 steps behind me. And so you always got to remember, like, your job in terms of producing your content is to help someone understand something that's like 1 or 2 steps behind you, versus trying to be some authority or trying to be someone who you aren't, which I totally disagree with. I really think you need to have content and give freely to where you can and where you actually can be an authority, versus, looking at someone like perhaps you that have been doing this forever and trying to replicate you. Well, you know what? You just got to be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I ran across that. I experienced that as well. I always had that soft spot for the beginners, because I remember when I was a beginner and the frustrations I had. But it's like I don't have the patience for them anymore either. It's like I'll make videos, I'll make tutorials. Hey, go here to learn 1 to 5. If you're ready to go 6 to 10, give me a call.
Right, and I think at the end of the day, you need to just understand. And I mean, I think there's 2 parts of the understanding here. Number one, if you're somebody that's at zero, don't look at us as saying, "Hey, listen, we're good, we're better than you." Okay, it's not that. All right, it's not that. It's really, really. I don't think it's the fact that we are like elitists and being like, "Oh, well, you're not good enough to talk to me."
No, that's absolutely what I mean.
Yeah. It is what you mean? Well, fair enough. We'll differ on that one if that's true. Yeah. But from my perspective, it's literally there's things that I just simply can't help that person do,
right?
Because I just don't remember. I can't remember it. Like I can't remember. And there's just so many mindset things and everything else. Like if I get on the call with someone that's under 100K, I kind of like I get frustrated.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, and it's like it's nothing against them ever. It's just like there's too many steps for me to be able to put the dots together for them.
Right. Yeah.
But you get me on the phone with somebody, I was just on the phone just before this. I was on the phone with a guy that's doing about $1.5 million, and he wants to get to 10 million. And, in less than 60 minutes, I put his entire roadmap together, paying me very well to do so. But in saying that, it's very easy because he's like, all right, I got a team. I got this. I got that. All right, cool, sweet. Here's your roadmap. Let's do it. 90 days and you're going to be able to double your monthly revenue easily. And so like it's people like that I can help really, really, really quickly. So if you're on the other side of the coin, maybe different people have different attitudes on this one. It's not the fact that I think I'm better than that. It's just my time just is very, very difficult to be able to utilize that to kind of connect the dots,
Yeah, well, like they say, 80% of the fuel, to launch the shuttle is just to get that thing off the ground. Mm-hmm. And once it has some momentum, it's easy, certainly much easier, right? And you just got to recognize where you are. It's like I still have a soft spot for beginners, and I'll do some group calls and group training, and go over those things, but it's just. After a while, and you just got to realize too, where's your sweet spot? Maybe your sweet spot, like you always need a good first grade teacher. You need to get through first grade to get to second, right? But then others are just meant to be a university professor, and it is what it is. It's your natural proclivity, your tendency, but. And so, they're still little humans all along the way, right? And
exactly.
We love them all.
Exactly. And I think it does just take simply time, and you just need to know who you're serving. And it doesn't. Look at Gary Vaynerchuk. His entire brand is that for the most part, at the end of the day, almost everyone that follows him is an entrepreneur, and the dude's done pretty damn well serving that audience.
Right. Sure.
Right.
So. All right. So you're spending a crap ton of money on advertising. Where should people spend their money, or what are some of the mistakes that you see? Because things change so fast. It'll be 3 weeks, 4 weeks at most before this goes live. But all the algorithms could totally change from the time that we do this interview. What are some fundamentals that you see people getting wrong that they need to get solid so they're even comfortable spending their first $20 a day?
Well, yeah. So there's a lot in that question, but here's kind of some of the things on the top. Number one, you need to own your platform, which means you need to be bringing people back to email. You need to be able to own the relationship. I think that's number one. I think number two, if you're not building a community or an audience or a movement, if you're just generating leads for the sake of generating leads, you're a fucking idiot. You need to, if you want to future-proof yourself, against an algorithm, you want to create a movement, you want to create a community, you want to create the new business is a community that's monetized. Okay, that is the new business. And you look at brands, they've done it. You look at everyone wants to have connection. Everyone wants to feel like they're a part of something where they belong.
So what's a community?
It could be. Listen, it could be. At the end of the day, it's a way that you talk with your people, right? So whether it's a live stream, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group, there needs to be some level of community building and audience building that happens inside of your business. We don't want to bring them through just a lead generation funnel where they go to a webinar and then they hear from you. That's it. We want birds of the same feather flock together, okay? So if you're bringing in a bunch of leads, more than likely all of these leads have a lot of similarities, and they're going to be able to create connections in between. And my belief is that if you are the connector between all of these people, then you're going to benefit greatly from connecting them. So that's my belief. I mean, it doesn't matter on the platform, but my belief is you want to be able to really have a strong vision / why that you can kind of push onto that movement or that community, where everyone's like, yeah, you know what, that's me, right? And from there, great things happen, right? Because now you're not just generating leads, you're generating advocates, and an advocate is hugely beneficial as a business owner versus a lead. A lead doesn't give a shit. An advocate really gives a lot of shits.
Right.
So I think that's something that I mean, I put it this way, and I'd say you're in the same boat. A lot of bad shit could happen to either of us today, right? We could get sued. We could, all kinds of things. We could get sued. We could, bet on something that didn't pan out. Whatever would be. Okay. And we'd be able to bounce back pretty quickly. We could put out a new program or a new product. We could, whatever it may be. Okay. I'll give you a great example. Right now, I'm raising $500,000 for my book launch this fall. I'm doing a big fucking book launch this fall, and I need $500,000 cash, liquid. And the biggest thing is that it can't be from launching a new product that my company touches. It cannot require any more than 10 hours of my team's time in the entire duration in order to generate this $500,000. And so far I've generated almost 50% of that money by starting a small virtual mastermind with some folks where it's like, hey, listen, you want to kind of be in the know of things. There's no like group calls, there's no in person, but if you want to be in a Facebook group with a bunch of other, 7-figure business owners, then here's the group, here's the curation, and you're going to, and I'm going to reply to all your, anything when it comes to marketing, sales, I'm going to reply to your shit. And it's the only place you're going to be able to get a reply anywhere, online, unless you're one of my one-on-one clients that costs over 6 figures. So I was able to go out, send a couple of emails, see who was a good fit, and I'm about 50% of the way there. And I've only done that for about 10 days. Could I do that if I was just going out online, running an ad to totally, people that have no idea who I am, don't trust me or anything like that? Of course I could. It's not possible. But I'm going to be able to raise $500,000 from my audience, basically crowdfunding my book launch money so that I can go and create this massive splash. And my book launch is my goal is to be able to use my book launch to get us to 7 figures a month and never go back. So that's going to be happening in September, October. And so, that's an extreme example perhaps. But I think that if you have an audience, you future-proof yourself against failures, bad months, whatever it may be.
Right.
So I think that's a big one. It's obviously just a fundamental kind of step. I think the other one is, at the beginning, if you look at Facebook ads and all these different types of platforms and these different types of things, you want to mitigate your risk as much as possible, which means that if you're going to be using paid advertising at the beginning, you need to be hustling to make that extra money to put into those ads. Because the majority, what you got to realize, the first couple $1,000s you put into Facebook ads or like YouTube ads or whatever, you're probably going to lose your complete shirt on them because you're just buying data. So what you have to do is you got to go out and figure out how can you hustle to get that additional dollars so you can kind of get this data. Because that is like being able to do that, being able to run automatic lead generation is like the key to scaling to 7 figures. But you have to have enough money at the beginning to be able to get the data to know what works and what doesn't work. So, you really can't play the Facebook ad game very effectively by spending only, $5 or $10 a day. Because it just simply it's not going to work. So you typically got to go out, you got to hustle a little bit more, get on the phones a little bit more, work your network a little bit more, get that cash flow coming in somewhere else in the end game to get to a point where you can have, a sustainable flow of qualified leads on a day-to-day basis.
I mean, should they just try to learn this themselves so they don't get snookered, or can they find an honest advertising firm that won't overcharge?
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care how fucking honest somebody is. I've ran agencies. If you're making less than $500,000 and you're going to an agency, you're going to get fucked. Not because the agency is bad, but quite simply, let's say you're doing $500,000 a year. Okay, that means that you shouldn't be really spending any more than $50,000 on advertising. So you go to an agency. You're only going to be able to spend about maybe $10,000 to $15,000 on actual ad budget because the agency took the other $30,000. So if you're looking at all things considered, you're kind of playing with a half deck, or not even half deck, quarter deck of cards.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is, once you get to $1 million, $2 million, you know what? Go to agency. Go for it. All right. But if you're below $1 million, there's two reasons to do this. Number one, you're going to maximize your budget. But number two, if you don't understand marketing, fundamentally as an entrepreneur, you're fucked. I'm all for delegating. I'm all for outsourcing. Okay. But there's really kind of a couple major pieces of business. If you don't understand marketing, you're fucked. If you don't understand sales, you're fucked. If you don't understand financials, you're fucked. If you don't understand operations, you're fucked. If you don't understand customer service, you're fucked. If you don't understand culture in your team, you're also fucked. So if those 6 things does not mean that you need to be an expert in any of them, but you need to understand how they work in an intimate fashion, or you have this big ass, red flag in that piece of your business, whatever piece of the business you don't understand, right? Show me an entrepreneur that doesn't understand his financials. I'll show you an entrepreneur that's going to fail. You show me an entrepreneur that doesn't understand the sales. I'll show you an entrepreneur that isn't going to be able to succeed. Okay. And so from that end, marketing and sales is almost if you look at the business, if you don't have marketing and sales down, your ability to get to 7 figures is very, very, very unlikely. And so you need to understand these things so that once you get to 7 figures, maybe it isn't your Goliath skill, the thing that you're really good at. That's fine. Once you delegate it, once you outsource it, that's fine. But you need to be able to understand what's working, what's not working. I'm not in the business. Like our business, we help entrepreneurs, be able to implement this stuff, and we train them how to do it. My job isn't to turn you into a fucking marketing pro. That's not my job. I don't want to do that. That's just, and more than likely you don't want to do that. But if you want to have a successful business and you want to get out of the hobby land, because let's face it, majority of business owners under a couple $100,000, what they have is a really expensive hobby that pays them a decent $50,000 to $60,000 wage. Okay. Now, if you want to be a real entrepreneur and you want to be a real business owner, then in my opinion, again, this is my opinion. It's probably wrong. I've been wrong before. But in my opinion, you need to be making at least $750,000, right, to be able to actually have a real business. And so if you want to do that, marketing and sales are so fucking critical. And if you don't understand it, you're putting yourself at a very, very bad disadvantage compared to somebody that actually understands sales and marketing. Again, you don't need to be a pro. You just need to have enough to be able to get things rolling, get some momentum, then delegate it and outsource it to somebody that actually has 2 clues for shoes.
Right. So in a nutshell, they need to just bite the bullet, get started, start learning this stuff, and the best teacher is the School of Hard Knocks.
I mean, like at the end of the day, there's 2 pieces of that. And again, I'm biased because this is what I make money doing. All right. But, I think number 1 is having the right knowledge, and that, the right, hey, this is what works.
Right.
So that's one piece of it. But piece 2 is having the right support / mentorship, right? And so that's where we come in because, I don't believe in just selling content. I think we're transitioning out of the knowledge economy. Because look at it, like 94% of all the world's content was produced in 2016. 94 fucking percent. 1 year produced all the years before it. So we have more content, more knowledge out there. We even know what it is. But if the right curated content / knowledge is then met with the right implementation help, support, and mentorship, then that is the kind of the real combination. And so that's the way that we're building things over at Infinitus and our LeadCraft program, where we offer the help and support and mentorship along with the right knowledge and content. And when you have both of those, that's when you see a lot of progress because, I don't want people just buy my courses and then just kind of fucking off. I want them to actually implement because if they do, 2 things are going to happen. A lot of success stories, and the more success stories, the more money I make. And the more money I may make, the better that I can create my kind of goal and where I'm going with this company over the next 3 to 5 years.
Yep. Amen. Well, we're running out of time, and I really didn't get your opinion on anything. I mean, I didn't know you were going to be such a wallflower. Good grief. We're going to have to do this all over again, man. I just got to pull stuff out of you. Are all Canadians just so shy and soft-spoken like you?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe, I think Canadian, we're just nice people, you know. I'm in a nice mood today, you know. No one's pissed on my cornflakes so far today, so I'm pretty nice. If you got me last week, I had the worst week of my fucking year last week. If you got me last week, I probably would have fucking swearing on, you know, everyone and their dog last week, but you know, today's a pretty good day. You know, I've been enjoying my day today.
Very nice. All right, man. So where do we send people? You mentioned a couple of websites. Where should we send people to learn more about you?
Yeah, so I mean, if you want to know more about me, if you're still here, if you're still listening to this, fucking high five, dude. That is awesome. If your ADD has allowed you to do that, ScottOldford.com. You can go there. Secondarily, if you want to know my method for lead generation, which I preach about all the time because I believe in it so much, SSF method, SSFmethod.com. It is now used by tens of thousands of entrepreneurs for their lead generation, and is the methodology that I know is the future of online lead generation. So if you want to implement the shit that works, that is where to find it. And besides that, you can just go on an epic Google search, because there's just, you know, if you want social proof, go for an epic Google search. And of course, if you keep on going back and back and back, you can see shit I posted years and years ago. That's just so embarrassing. But you know, that is what happens when you produce lots of content. What you produce today may contradict what you believe 2 years from now. But listen, man, it's been fun being on this contest and just absolutely dominating and barely allowing you to even talk. So you know, I appreciate the therapy session that you gave to me today. Appreciate that a lot. Now I don't have to pay someone else $200 or $300 to do the same.
Oh, you will get a bill, okay? And I accept PayPal. I accept Canadian whiskey.
Whiskey, yeah, there you go.
I accept Huggies. I mean, I still got little ones in diapers. So I mean, you know, whatever, dude. Just send over the payment. All right.
I love it, man. Well, listen, dude, it's been fun talking about myself, and hopefully, if you're listening to this, you got some level of value out of it. But if you didn't, then I apologize. But remember, it was your choice to stay here listening.
That's right. And then, hey, and anybody that made it this far, they will have been warned on the intro in post-production. So, you know, they brought on this beating themselves.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. Listen, great getting to know you a little bit, and looking forward to seeing what other cool things you have, and yeah, man. Thanks for having me on here. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Scott Oldford, all the way from Ontario, my friends. Thanks for coming on the Sales Podcast. It's been awesome.
Thanks.
I told you he wouldn't pull any punches. Hope you got a lot out of that, though. Check out what Scott is up to online. He is constantly putting out updates, information, you know, and I asked him, I mean, how do you give so much free? What's left to give in a paid program? But that's a little secret, if you will. And many of the great marketers and business people have talked about that, you know, giving away your best stuff for free up front. Because you'll always have more information. You're always learning, hopefully, and you have more to give to your clients. So don't hold everything in, because, heck, the entire world is available with a Google search. So be the trusted advisor, right? Be the Google to your clients in your industry, in your niche. Be the one that they turn to for advice and recommendations and feedback and support, and your business will grow. So, again, go back and listen to this guy. Yep, he's got a potty mouth, but that's his style. That's how he rolls. But he's pretty much on point with what he's recommending. All right. I mentioned at the beginning, 2 resources for you, thebestsalessecrets.com. And if you want one-on-one time with me, if you want to pick my brain, head on over to digdeep.today. Thanks for listening. Please leave a 5-star review. Share this with your friends and family and coworkers. And as always, remember to sell different.